Today we celebrate the 26th Sunday in Ordinary Time. One day I was talking to someone and explaining to him about my sleep problem. I'm a light sleeper. Sometimes something as little as coffee in the morning seems to be able to disturb my sleep at night. And this can feel like a cross. Well, this person who was listening to me asked me, does this mean that you have stopped drinking coffee? I felt a little embarrassed as I said, not really. I'm still drinking coffee actually. This person looked at me like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. But what he didn't know was the fact that there were a few other things which also seemed to disturb my sleep, such as eating sweets at night and using electronic devices at night, none of which I had given up. But I couldn't tell him that. I didn't want to scandalize him any more than I already had. Sometimes we complain about life being too hard. We complain about our crosses being too heavy. But what if there are some basic things we can work on, some basic changes that we can make, which will greatly improve our well-being, especially our spiritual well-being? In our gospel today, Jesus said to the disciples, if your hand or foot should cause you to sin, cut it off. If your eye should cause you to sin, tear it out. Yes, it's tragic for us to become crippled or only have one eye, unless we wanted to become a pirate. But what is far more tragic than that is for us never to reach our full potential, never to reach our full God-given spiritual potential. A French thinker by the name of Leon Bloy famously said, there's only one tragedy in life. In the end, there's only one thing truly tragic in life, and that is for us not to become saints, not to reach our full God-given spiritual potential. By contrast, if we do reach that potential, if we do become what we are meant to be, said St. Catherine of Siena, we will set the world on fire. We will set the world on fire with divine love. I guess this also means that the converse is true. The converse, namely, that if we do not become what we are meant to be, then we might even freeze the world. We might even bring the world back into the ice age. Now, some people might agree with me when I say that it feels like what we are going through right now is an ice age rather than an age of fervent and creative love. It feels like we are going through an ice age. We feel stuck, unable to move forward. We even feel like we are quietly imploding rather than flourishing as a civilization. And one of the reasons for this is that there is so much disunity in our world, so much disunity everywhere. And this unity is caused by things like polarization and partisan politics. Every major issue gets politicized and used as a weapon by one side against the other side. There seems to be a never-ending polarization and partisan politics, which perpetuates harmful disunity in our society. And in our gospel today, Jesus has two advices for us. And the first is this: if we find something good, then we are to respect it and embrace it, no matter where we find it. So in our gospel today, there was a man who was not one of the disciples following Jesus. And this man was performing miracles using the name of Jesus. The disciples wanted to stop him because he was not one of them. But Jesus told them, "No, let him be. Anyone who is not against us is for us." In other words, if we come across something good, then we must respect it and embrace it, even if it comes from someone who is not our friend, even if it comes from those who are supposed to be our political opponents. In this way, we will be demonstrating that we truly care about the common good. Our hearts are in the right place. The second advice is this: before we go out and look for an enemy to fight, we must first defeat the enemy within. Before we go out and look for an enemy to fight, we must first defeat the enemy within. It is very tempting for us to look for someone to blame, someone to scapegoat, for why we are not as happy as we could be, for why there is so much misery in our world. But what if there are some basic things we can work on, some basic changes that we can make, which will get us much closer to being what we are meant to be? Because on this hangs the fate of not just our own souls, but also to some extent the souls of others as well. Because when we are what we are meant to be, we become conduits of God's grace for others. But when we are not, we become obstacles, scandals to them. So in our gospel today, Jesus said, anyone who is an obstacle to bring down one of these little ones who have faith would be better thrown into the sea with a great millstone round his neck. This gives us a terrifying imagery of us falling into the depth of infinite sadness and infinite darkness. But fortunately for us, Jesus is the one who has done the impossible by going all the way to the end, all the way to the very bottom of human abyss, human misery, in order to rescue us from what seems like an impossible situation. So what basic things can we work on? What basic changes can we make in our lives which would better allow Jesus to come and find us and perfect us, so that we too, in our turn, can do what seems impossible for others? How could the world change then? In one of our windows in the church, there is this writing, and I'm going to finish with this. Christ has no body now but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes through which he looks compassion on this world. God bless you. Have a peaceful and reflective day and enjoy your week.